The Blue Jackets are looking for redemption after the last time they faced the Canadiens as they hit Game 2 of the series tonight. We're going to talk about that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets if that bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Let's talk about tonight's game. Because the last time the Habs faced the Blue Jackets were very, very, very bad indeed. It was maybe the most annoying loss of the season. And I know that I've said that about a lot of losses, but like in fairness, this one was really frustrating. That was a 5-1 loss. They scored one goal against what was at the time, I believe, the worst defense and the worst goaltending in the league. Like, no team was allowing more goals than the Montreal Canadiens. They were averaging over 4 goals a game allowed. The Blue Jackets could only score one. On the other side of things, like Sam Montembeault was excellent. And Daniil Tarasov, who I believe played in that game, was not. So I'm just pulling up the game to make sure that I am right and I am not incorrectly. Yeah, it was Daniil Tarasov who allowed 5 goals on like 30 shots. I don't think we've seen like that. Was that Tarasov's last? That might have been Tarasov's last game. You know, I don't know that we've seen him since then, which makes sense. He was real bad in that game. But also the Blue Jackets have not had a lot of back-to-backs in so far this season anyway. I believe the Canadiens was the first of a back-to-back. Yeah, the last time he played, and he's had 4 really bad starts. Like going all the way back to Nashville, where they lost in overtime, 4 goals on 33 shots. Washington, 7 goals on 22. Anaheim, 3 goals on 29. That was actually his best performance of the last little while. And then Montreal, 5 goals on 30 shots, and he hasn't started a game since. You know, for better or worse, Elvis has become the main guy there. And again, I thought he's been perfectly fine. You know, yeah, he's sitting on an .894 save percentage, which isn't like great. But he's been good enough for the team to win, you know, and I'm going to continue to bang the drum of you know, need Vezina level goaltending, you need league average goaltending. And honestly, I feel like league average goaltending right now is, it keeps dropping. Like, I've been saying that you need like 900 to 905 save percentage. I feel like the league average goaltending right now is sitting at around 898. Let's see if I can find this out real quick. League average goaltending has been trending down. So last season it was a 904. This season I feel like it's even lower. I don't know that I can find it. In October, the league-wide save percentage is as low as it's been in 30 years. When 1993-94, so goalies finished with a collective 895. So between 895 and 900, I think is about where league average goaltending is sitting right now, unless it's climbed back up a little bit. But like my point here is, which is not the point I was planning on making in the first place. But Elvis has been fine. We'll see Elvis tonight. We will not see Sam Montembeault tonight. He played last night in a truly hilarious Canadiens game where they somehow got 13 shots on goal and had almost four expected shots on goal. Now, I know just enough about stats to make me dangerous, but that seems wonky to me. Montembeault made 26 of 29 saves. They lost in overtime to the Utah Hockey Club. So they played last night. Blue Jackets haven't played in a couple of days, and it looks like the Blue Jackets will be facing Caden Primo, who is 1-2-1 on the season, has an .842 save percentage and a 4.59 goals against average. So that might be good news for the Blue Jackets. However, struggling goalies love to show up against the Blue Jackets, and specifically Montreal games. I don't know what it is about the Canadiens and the Blue Jackets games, but they always turn out to be so stupid. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, this is an easy win for the Blue Jackets. They're going to send 7 goals past Caden Primo. But, like, Primo has not been very good this season. And, you know, they have, as is evident, they haven't started him a whole bunch. He's come into a bunch of games, but he's only actually gotten the decision in 4 of them. So he's only actually started 4 games, I think. But he's come in, he's played 20 minutes against Vegas, 43 against Buffalo, 37-23 against Seattle, and then 48-55 against New York. And so all of those games, he's either come in to the game or he started and hasn't finished it. So what did I say? 3 games there? 4 games? Of those 4 games, he only started the Buffalo one, where he played 45 minutes and then left. Played on the 23rd of November, again, against Vegas, was not very good then. Has had 2 games over 900 this year. And that was a game against the Islanders, where he made 33 of 36 saves. And then 2 nights later against the Rangers, he made 32 saves on 35 shots. Since then, it's kind of been going from bad to worse. Like 885, 769, 824, 643, 667. Not ideal for anyone, really, including the Canadiens, because, again, like, Montembeault has been struggling, Primo has been worse, and it's getting to a point, I think, where, like, you can't start Montembeault every single game, but also I feel like starting Primo is just kind of a recipe for disaster at this point. So in a rare situation, it seems like the Blue Jackets have come out on top in the goaltending battle. I'm going to knock on wood because, again, I could only my powers can only be used for evil here. But the Blue Jackets are doing better at goaltending, only just slightly. They're doing better defensively. They're doing better offensively. They're up to 7th in the league in goals for per game, whereas the Canadiens are sitting at 21st in the league in goals for per game. Like shots on goal, again, the Canadiens just had 13 shots on goal, which I saw someone say, actually, that they actually only hit the net 27% of the time when they were shooting. So that leads to what, give or take 55-ish shot attempts, 55, 60 shot attempts. 13 of them actually hit the net, and somehow 2 of those went in. So again, just like a wild, stupid, bonkers game. The Canadiens are kind of, like I said, they're kind of starved offensively. Cole Caulfield has stopped scoring goals. He's got 4 points in his last 5 games, and they're all assists. So, like, could be worse, but he hasn't scored a goal in, like, 5 or 6 games now, I don't think. And again, that's like a big part of their early season success, was that Caulfield was basically just kind of scoring at will. The Canadiens are shooting, on average, 23.6 shots a game, which is dead last in the league. They're allowing 30 shots per game. Whereas, again, the Blue Jackets are way up there in shot volume. They are shooting 32 shots a game and allowing 29. So, like, expect the Canadiens to be outshot tonight. And frankly, again, like, this feels like a jinx. This feels like a really great way to get Caulfield to break his scoring slump. But he hasn't scored since He had 2 goals on November 11th against Buffalo. And then since then, no points against Minnesota. He had 2 assists versus the Blue Jackets. The last time these two teams played, an assist versus Edmonton, nothing versus Vegas, and they had an assist last night versus Utah. So something's up there. Like I said, he at the beginning of the season was kind of scoring at will. Like he had, I think, 10 goals in his first 10 goals in his first 10 games, including 2 multi-goal outings. And then in the next 10 games, he scored 3 goals total. 1 against Washington, although back in Halloween, and then, like I said, 2 against Buffalo. So, like, that's a big problem for the Canadians, for a lot of reasons, but mostly because that's like the engine that the offense runs through at the minute is Caulfield and Suzuki, and they are doing okay, but struggling. Like Nick Suzuki is always going to be good, and like I'm a big Nick Suzuki defender on this just in general. Actually, I was on this show, but like again, Suzuki 1 assist in his last 3 games, 1 goal in his last 5 games. He scored against the Blue Jackets. He's got 19 points on the season, and is not the dominant Nick Suzuki that we've seen of the last handful of years. So like, what do you do with that? I guess the answer is you put Yuri Slavkovsky on the 4th line and make him earn his way back up. Like that line was great, and then it struggled, and then they tore it apart. And again, the Canadians are really trying to figure out a way to get things working. Slavkovsky has been struggling. Kirby Dach has been struggling. Patrick Laine, who was their big ticket off-season acquisition, hasn't played a game yet. He got injured, like, I want to say, was it during preseason he got hurt? Like there's a bunch of stuff that's gone wrong for the Canadians this season, and all of it kind of sucks for them, honestly. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Canadians, and then I also want to talk about a key Blue Jacket that is going to be missing tonight. So we'll do that in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. Before we do that, I have got to tell you about Built, because PSA for anyone who rents, if you haven't heard of Built, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Built. You don't have to check with your landlord to start earning points. You can just do that to use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. If you're a renter, I'd start taking advantage of Built if I were you. There's no cost to join, and as a member, you're going to earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels, airlines, even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points towards. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning any points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbuilt.com/LOCKEDONNHL. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl to start earning points on your rent payments today. I've also got to tell you about Game Time. I don't know about you, I love last minute hockey tickets. I love to finish work and be like, hey, let's see who's playing tonight. Let's head downtown, go to the arena, get cheap tickets to a Sharks game. Does it help that the Sharks are bad? Yes. However, Game Time has low price tickets for better than basically anywhere else that you could find it. And they've got a brand new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And again, if, like me, you're going to Sharks games, there are thousands of available tickets because no one wants to see this team. Game Time doesn't just have sports, though. They've got comedy, they've got theater, they've got music. Like, if you need a ticket to get in the door, you can probably get it at Game Time. And if you find tickets in your section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is also covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We're talking about tonight's game versus the Habs, and I've spent quite a lot of time just kind of talking about who on the Habs is struggling and what they are struggling with. So expect all of those guys to have a big impact on tonight's game, except for maybe Sam Montembeault, who's not playing. But like, expect Caden Prevost to be good because I could only jinx people on this podcast. In terms of like who's playing well at the minute, like I talked about how Caulfield is struggling. And he still has 4 points in his last 5 games. You know, like Jaden Struble, defenseman, has 2 goals in his last 5 games. Their power play is 10th in the league. Their penalty kill is really quite good. I think that's 8th or 9th in the league right now. Like, this team is not a pushover. However, they only have 3 wins in their last 10 games. That being said, one of those wins is against the Blue Jackets. Another one is against Edmonton for some reason. So, like, this team is unpredictable. They're on a 2-game losing streak right now. They just lost in overtime to Utah last night, so they're looking to get back off the loss wagon, so to speak. So we'll see how it goes. The Blue Jackets have just won 3 in a row, by the way. Once in regulation, and then once in overtime against Tampa Bay, once in a shootout against Carolina. I don't think they've won 4 in a row in a very long time. That might, again, be going back to March 2022, they actually won 4 games in a row. Like, they haven't done that in a very long time, almost 3 years. So, if they lose tonight, I will be frustrated, but I will understand. Unless they just do what they did last time, which was just play terribly. Like, the Blue Jackets looked bad the last time these two teams faced off. Again, Montreal won 5-1. Outshot the Blue Jackets 30-26. Again, Montembeault was great. They had a power play goal. Like, Blue Jackets couldn't get anything done. Anything. So we'll see how it goes. That being said, we have to talk about how the Blue Jackets are missing one of their key players, Cole Sillinger, who has not appeared on the score sheet, I'm sure, as often as he would like. He does have 12 points in 20 games right now, which I think puts him on pace for like a 48-ish point season, just under 50 points. Again, can't do math on the fly, but he is out tonight. He got kicked in the head accidentally during the Carolina Hurricanes game. Went back to the room, came back, finished the game, was not practicing yesterday, and then he had, I believe, they had a season ticket holder event or like a signing event or something last night or the night before that they cancelled. But basically last minute. He's not on the trip. He's not traveling to, or not traveling. He's not playing the game last night. Playing the game tonight. It's in Nationwide. The 7:30 start really threw me. Because I just assumed that the 7:30 start would be in Montreal. But so no Sillinger tonight, which again, he's been on the power play, he's been on the penalty kill, he's been getting the tough matchups for other teams. Like he got matched up against the Kucherov line, and he kind of struggled, but did not get as caved in as I thought he would. You know, like he's been taking a lot of the tougher matchups to free up like the Monahan line and the Fantilli line, for example. So, like, with him out, someone else is going to have to take those matchups. However, it does mean that they can kind of load the lines a little bit more. So it looks like Chinakhov is going to be going up on that second line, which is great. Chinakhov, third on the team, third on for forwards in scoring right now, 4th on the team overall in scoring, I think. Yeah, only Werenski is ahead of him in terms of defensive scoring. So, like, putting Chinakhov, Fantilli, and Johnson together, I think, is going to be a sneaky, fun line. Ken Johnson, by the way, 9 points in 6 games so far this season. What a rock star. That line feels good to me because you've got the scorer, you've got Adam Fantilli, who's going to just kind of bull through and get the puck where he needs it to be, and then Ken Johnson is going to do some ridiculous skill move and like drag all of the players to him and then just flip around and send a puck. And like that's what happened with the extra man goal on was against the Carolina. That late game tying goal from Marchenko was Ken Johnson dragged all of the defense into the corner with him, turned away from it, flipped the puck to Monahan, who got it across to Marchenko, and Marchenko put the puck in the net because there was no one between him and the goalie. So like that's what Kent Johnson does. So while it sucks that they're losing Cole Sillinger, there's still a lot of firepower on this team. Again, Zach Werenski's still on an absolute heater. He's got 10 points in his last 5 games, including, I believe, 3 or 4 goals in there. Dmitry Voronkov has 4 goals in his last 5 games. Monahan has 8 assists in his last 5 games. Sean Monahan, who, again, I spoke earlier, I think, like, early last week / the middle of last week about how they needed more from Monahan. He had gone through a little bit of a cold streak. Like, he'd gone 4 games without registering a point from San Jose up to Seattle. Then he had 2 assists versus Pittsburgh, nothing against Montreal, and then 2 assists versus Boston, 4 points versus Tampa Bay, an assist against Carolina. Like, dude's back, I think. And that top line of him and the Russians, I think, is also going to be really, really fun. Dmitry Voronkov is shockingly efficient for the amount of ice time he gets versus like the points that he puts up. Like Voronkov is averaging 1440 of ice time and has 7 points in 11 games so far. Like, again, I don't know on pace what he's on pace for necessarily because he missed the first, I want to say 9 games of the season, 8-9 games of the season. So in 70-ish games, like, again, he may be on pace for like a 65 point season, which will probably, fall down a little bit, but is still incredibly fun while that's going on. So, like, again, Monahan, great. Marchenko, great. Those two have clicked so well. It's really fun to see. And they're doing it with, like, less ice time than some of their kind of scoring contemporaries in the league as well. Like, Marchenko is averaging 18-13 a game. Monahan averaging 18-57. Like, they don't need to play these guys, like, a billion minutes a game. Unlike, you see some players, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, it's just that I wouldn't do it. You see some forwards getting, 21, 22 minutes a night. And you just think, man, how good would they be if actually what they were doing was playing, 17, 18 minutes a night? Like, Nick Suzuki is averaging almost 20 minutes a game as a forward. Like, he's averaging more time on ice than 4 of their 7 defensemen, which is wild. Anyway, the point here is the Blue Jackets are missing Cole Sillinger, but they have guys there to fill in. I do think he will be a loss on the penalty kill. He's been very good on the penalty kill so far. His face-offs have been improved this season. He's sitting on 47.2, which is like not perfect, but is an improvement on last season. Playing over 18 minutes a game on average. Again, he's getting power play time, he's getting PK time, but I think what this will do is potentially free up guys like Fantilli to get a little bit more penalty kill time. I think it'll free up guys like Johnson to get more power play time. It'll probably free up guys like Danforth to get more time as well, because Danforth kind of plays a similar-ish role. Danforth has been on the wing. I've been really enjoying that fourth line of Danforth, Aston Reese, and LeBanc. That's been fun. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see who slots in where. I believe it's Chinakov going up to the second line, and then James Van Riemsdyk will be slotting in on the third line, and then probably moving Danforth over to center. And so it'll be Van Riemsdyk, Danforth, Olivier on the third line. So, like, again, they've got some weapons. The Blue Jackets just need to, like, be better than they were against the Habs last time, because again, they were atrocious against the Habs last time, just like embarrassingly so. Let's take another quick break, and then when we get back, we'll talk a little bit about some predictions, because it's about prediction time on this show. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, and other sports as well. You can bet on the NHL, you can bet on the NBA, you can bet on college sports. All of these things you can do at FanDuel, all in one place. So you get a hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, if you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, if you place your first $5 bet and it wins, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets that you can spend on whatever you want. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We're going to talk a little bit about predictions. This is a tough one because I feel like I am on a losing streak with my predictions at the minute. I was like, oh yeah, the Tampa game will probably be like a 3-2 win, and it was a 7-6 win. Crazy stuff like that. Or we're gonna win 4-2 and then we lose 5-1. Example, the Montreal game. So like, I'm going to keep betting on the Blue Jackets because I feel like if I don't believe in them, then no one will sometimes. So I'm going to say that the Blue Jackets are going to win this game. My guess is probably, I don't know, I've got like a 4-3 or a 5-4 final score. I don't know. Like, again, I didn't think the Canadians could score 5 goals in a game, and then they did it last time. So, like, this might be another high-scoring game. Again, Elvis has been fine, but not great in his last couple of outings, but he was like spectacular the 2 before that. So like, again, his last 2 games, he got an 889 and then an 800 against Tampa. And then he had a 966 against Boston and a 913 against Pittsburgh. So like, if we keep rotating through it like that, like he's due a good game, because it looks like he's having 2 bad games and 2 good games, and then 2 bad games and then 2 good games. So we'll he's due a good game, basically, and that would be fun, I think. So maybe let's go with a 4-3. Let's go with a 4-3 Blue Jackets win. For reasons of vibes, I guess. I have very little like. I'm sure there's some kind of analytics out here that will like predict scores much more accurately than me, but mostly I just go on vibes. So like, let's say a 4-3 or let's say 4-2 win. Actually, I'm feeling optimistic. 4-2 win. We'll include an empty netter in that, even though we know on this show that empty netters don't count. And then we will say, man, Adam Fantilli could really use a goal. It's been a minute. I think more likely, like a safe bet, I think would be a Chinikov goal, honestly. I think just playing on that line, I think Chinikov is perfectly set up to score a goal, but Fantilli only has, I think, 3 goals on the season, and he hasn't scored since October 28th versus Edmonton. Like, he's been getting points since then, but no assists in a couple of games, and he had an assist in Boston, nothing against Tampa, nothing against Carolina, and again, he hasn't scored since October 28th versus Edmonton. So let's go ahead and let's put Fantilli on the board, and let's hope for the best. And let's hope for a much less annoying game than the last time these 2 teams played. That's kind of all I've got for today. Tomorrow we'll break down tonight's game. We'll see if there's any Jiricek news. There's kind of nothing really since then. I was going to do an update, and then like the only thing that's changed since the last time we talked about this is that Frank Saravalli said that there was a trade imminent, and that was approximately 36 hours ago. So like clearly not that imminent, Frank. But there's an update on Jiricek. We'll do that tomorrow as well. But mostly I think we're going to talk about tonight's game. Thank you for listening, making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, on YouTube and on Sirius XM. And until then, make sure you stay locked on.